Oh, we're going to make everybody sick by moving the thing around a lot.
Oh, sorry. I can't figure out how to get it there.
Just turn towards you. There we go. So, welcome to the 7 o'clock talk. We're actually outside enjoying the rain and the wonderful fall-like weather, I should say early fall-like weather. Tonight we're going to talk about an autoimmune case. And Jessica sits down. Well, we both sit down with everybody. She really digs into people's stories, and I just listen. That's kind of her superpower. Being a nurse of 13 years, she asks all the questions, and honestly, that's the way it works in the medical profession. The doctors ask a few questions, but nurses generally do all the intake and talking, and then they report back. So she asks different questions than I ask. And so I'm going to let her talk about this case and what the person was talking about and what they reported. And then we're going to show you her results. You remember who we're talking about?
Yeah, the autoimmune.
Yes.
So this lady actually came with her husband, and she was very pale. She was so tired. She had no sparkle. She just looked like she was defeated and was just super scared and super concerned for herself. She had actually kind of exhausted her possibilities through physician, and after I guess everything that they checked, they decided that she probably had an autoimmune disorder.
And hey, let me break in a second. She calls us up and says, "Hey, I'm getting a medication in 2 weeks. What can you do for me?"
She really did. And what they were going to put her on was an injectable for her autoimmune disorder, which was 20 grand a month. So it was one injection a month, $20,000, and it was going to be a lifelong adventure for her. That terrified her. She didn't want to take medicine and didn't really know what she should do. So she came in and sat down with us with her husband. He was really skeptical, but she was dragging him along and he was being supportive. And so I kind of watched the way they interact together and just ask questions based on not what I hear, kind of what I don't hear in between the lines. But anyway, she has a career that she hates. She has a passion and love, hobby, whatever you call it, and is kind of resentful for her job that she doesn't get to do that. And so it creates a lot of stress within herself and in a relationship. And so we started them both on just a diet, did their tests. It was during holiday season, right before Thanksgiving. And she went and they did the diet together. So I'm going to talk a little bit about him too, because I'm super proud of this case. He had blood sugars 360 plus, and didn't check his blood sugars but once a week, if that. He said, really hard worker. They grew all of their food the most they could, and grew their own animals. Really passionate about what they put in their bodies. So we just started them out really simple on the elimination diet, and they did so well at that. And she was actually falling asleep at her desk. She was truly worried for herself. And
let's tell them about the autoimmune disease.
Yep, I'm getting there.
Okay.
So
I ruined your train of thought.
You did. You're gonna.
So they were doing well, and they in the few weeks they were.
Oh yeah, I was gonna get there.
Yes.
So they actually came back to see us, I think, in 2 weeks, And in the 2 weeks that they came back, she looked so much better. But she had also visited her physician, who said, "Oh, we don't think you have an autoimmune disorder any longer. You don't need that medicine." So that was a big eye opener for her. And so she's continued. So she started out with 100 symptoms.
Well, so she has a family history of lung fibrosis, which is an autoimmune disease. The family, a sister has it, and another relative has it. And basically, their lungs, the body attacks their lungs scar and fibrose, and they can't control this.
Well, they can't breathe, so they can't oxygenate themselves. So then they get weaker, they get tired easily, and they can't tolerate exercise.
So we're not. I don't want to give the idea. A doctor said that there was an autoimmune disease, and then there were no tests or diagnosis. She had a documented lung autoimmune disease, blood work, all of that, and they were getting ready to do this. And so she asked, "What could we do?" And so we don't treat
no
a specific condition. We look at what the body is doing abnormally.
Well, and also she actually was wanting for us to give her something like the injection in a natural form, and we were like, that's not possible. So that's where we started.
So here is her. Let's add this to the screen. I'm going to disappear. We can't do. Our audio goes away. So we start out, and her symptoms, she reports in excess of 130 different symptoms. And she was really worried because for one of her relatives, this was a death sentence. And then between the first visit and the second visit, and we're looking at the timeline here was actually October to December. They didn't make it in for Thanksgiving.
They did, but they didn't come in for that. They didn't have a sit down with us.
Yeah. From here to here, all we did was the elimination diet.
And we were waiting on our test results.
And yes, we were waiting on the test results to come back. So as with most of our patients, once we start to get into working with the energy system, we work with the hormones. I really need a thinner lead on that. We work with the hormones, thyroid, mitochondria. And is where we start to see people get a little worse before they get better. But what we want to see over time is we want to see the trend go down. And so, honestly, this person was not perfect with the diet. She had so many little relapses and had little bugs start to hit her and viruses, and she had H. pylori and she had acid reflux. And so as we start to address these things, here we start what is called a kill phase. And as you start to kill things off and there's a die off, then things got a little worse. And then you address basically detox and stuff like that. But then we slowly start to go through these and we adjust what people are taking. So in all of this, immediately her lungs, which were her primary thing, her lungs got better. And she wasn't experiencing symptoms there. Long story short, in less than a year, she has taken her symptoms from 131 down to 42.
And these are self-reported. So each one of these things, they have a questionnaire being sent to them, and they are self-reporting this. We have no input on that.
And the reason why lower is because you've heard us talk about phase angle before. Her phase angle was really low. Her immune system was attacking her own body and cells. And so her phase angle was down in I think it was down in the 4s, and it should be in the 6s. And we started to work on this. And as we worked on this, and she had a full 1-point jump from here to here, she finally got that 1-point jump in the phase angle. Her immune system has started to settle down. Her color has come back. Her energy has come back.
She sparkles. Now she feels good enough to even think about a career change so that she can get rid of the stress.
And that's the thing with all of this is the symptoms she's reporting between there and there are not the same symptoms. She's not fighting that same thing. We're dealing mostly with her acid reflux here, trying to get rid of it. And she is very dependent on her meds, but until she gets her phase angle up, that acid reflux won't get better.
And when she last came to see us, a lot of what she is experienced could be hormone related, and then what was the other thing? It's
hormone and
weak
mitochondria,
body aches, being tired, hair loss.
Well, you can kind of see here, she was worried about her energy, and it went from a 9 to a high of 11. And then now we're back down. We're down to a 4. That's the lowest that's been. So her energy is there. Her thinking, her brain fog, went from a 14 to a 0. So as you start to correct inflammation, and as you start to correct these things that are not working well or working together in the body, the other stuff just gets better. That's the way it's supposed to work. If you're working with a functional medicine doctor,
well, look at her lungs. They went from an 8 to a 1.
Yeah. The major complaint on her was this, and you can see 8, 5, 5, 3, and then she jumped up to a 14.
And she got sick. She was sick there.
And then back down to 8, 4, 1. So right now she's pleased as punch, and she's continued on because she wants to get better, and she wants to make her body more resilient, and she wants to optimize the body.
In her mouth and her throat, she went from a 14 to none, no complaints. She would clear her throat. She
constantly.
Felt like she had something in her throat all the time.
And I don't think that her heart issues have kind of stayed the same throughout.
Anxiety.
But I don't think, anxiety one, but I don't think until she gets her phase angle better, so the cell health is better, and the body can produce that energy, that won't get better. But it's just,
these people,
it's amazing how well when you feed the body what it needs to help where the body needs help. Everybody has weaknesses. Some people have weaknesses in methylation. Some people have weaknesses in detox. Some people have weaknesses in digestion. Some people have weaknesses in thyroid. Whatever the case may be, when you support the body with good nutrition and you support the body with stress relief and you do the 5 pillars, it gets better. It adapts. That's what it was designed to do. And, just super happy with how she's doing. There's nothing anymore that's in the red. We are going to start to look at the hormones for the hair loss. And we think these aches and pains are going to do better. We've ordered blood work to look at the hormones, and we think that'll help the hormones. And so, and the way we'll start to see that all happening and start to get it knocked down for her. And so, even if you've been given something like an autoimmune disease and you're told that it's not treatable, let's go worst case scenario and it's not treatable and nothing happens. The only thing bad that you've done for yourself is you've fed it better, you've allowed it to get more rest, you're moving more and getting exercise,
strengthened it,
and you start getting rid of the things in your life that cause you stress. So all of a sudden, even if we don't remove everything, the dependence on drugs goes down and the person's hope comes back and goes up.
Well, and just a little education on like the medication. Like for her, it was her lungs, but it doesn't just, it's not a treatment. It actually, an autoimmune disorder, in the way it is treated is you turn off the immune system. So when you turn off the immune system with these medications, you're not just turning off the part that's harming the lungs or
it's
like
not specific.
Skin. It's general. So when you take these medications, and there's tons of them, they suppress your immune system. So it's like having almost, well, when you wipe out somebody's immune system, when you're treating them for cancer, then they're susceptible to all kinds of things. So,
and this is no
you are
different.
opening up their immune system to all kinds of bad things. And sometimes I guess people are just so frustrated and they're just looking for something to help them. But I just would take a moment to really think about that decision.
And you can see in her mental health, where she rates herself, physical health, you can see that actually move up. And one of the things that I thought was very interesting was your ability to do your day-to-day activities. How would you rate your physical health? To what extent are you able to carry out every day? She went moderately, completely, mostly, completely, mostly, completely. So she went from not being able to do her daily chores and tasks to being able to do them almost immediately. Because the analogy that we use with the immune system is the analogy of a bouncer. If you have a bar and the crowd can go one way or the other, then you want to have a good bouncer. And what's a bouncer supposed to do? When there's trouble, the bouncer gets up from his seat, he goes over, addresses the problem, either throws the bad guys out or he gets them to settle down and snap to and get in order. And then the bouncer is supposed to go sit back down. And the problem in America primarily is the bouncer doesn't sit back down. So you got to think about that a second. Let's go back to the pandemic and talk about that for just a second. If you look at America as total world population, we are we're around 3% of the world's population. Do you know what percentage of the deaths we were? Do you know?
We were one of the highest, but I don't remember the percentages.
So we are not a significant population.
And we weren't even close. We were way out there as far as.
We were by far the most. We were 30%. So we had 10 times the deaths proportionally than we should have had according to population.
Well, and there was lots of countries where they were ill, but they didn't die.
Yeah.
A lot of them didn't die.
And so that's just how sick we are in America. And autoimmune diseases fall into that. What's an autoimmune disease? The immune system is not shutting off. And since it is not shutting off, it goes around attacking indiscriminately, and you start to have thyroid issues, or you have bowel and gut issues, or you start to become gluten sensitive, or you have whatever the case may be. That's what happens. And so you have to address that. And with that all being said, don't mean to be doom and gloom. Hey, there's a way out.
No,
And
there's
we'll,
not doom and gloom. This is hopeful. Like this,
we can help
these
you
individuals are living their best lives at the moment.
we can help you get there, and we would love to. So you guys have a great evening. We'll see you next week.